Africa's agriculture sector contributes approximately 2.5% to South Africa's GDP. The total value chain contributes around 14%, which makes the sector crucial to economic growth. Access to advanced technology plays an important role to improve productivity as the farming community battles food security and climate change. CNBC Africa's Zanele Morrison speaks to Corteva about the use of technology in the agri-sector.
Abraham, I think summarize for me in short, what is the intention of Corteva for South Africa and for the South African farmer?
So we've got this beautiful purpose to say we want to ensure that farmers can produce in a sustainable way, looking after the environment for generations. What I like about the purpose, it's not just the farmer, it's also about the consumer. So technology needs to also provide productivity, but it also needs to be safe to consumers, safe to the environmental impact as well. So that's really sort of our ambition, is to say, how do we look after agriculture, but really from farm to fork all the way. So I think if we can achieve that, then that would be beautiful. We'll never get to an end point because nature evolves, needs evolve, challenges evolve. So that's really the end point, is to say, how do we look after our farmers, but all the way to environment and consumers.
And when we talk about technology, we might be lost if we don't clarify that it is the technology behind the seeds, the genetic makeup of some of the seeds that you are providing. Maybe you can unpack the 2 or 3 or so pillars of technology that you are working with.
Yeah, so for Corteva, of course, we are R&D-based organization. We sleep, eat, and dream innovation. From seeds to GMO traits, soon gene editing. We're expecting our first commercialization of corn out of the US in 2027. And it's amazing technology in that we will give farmers the best performing hybrid, but through gene editing we can now also ensure that that hybrid is disease tolerant. And in that way also destroying some of our own technology, because we do offer fungicides also, but now we can put a maize plant in the field that's more tolerant to fungicides, so you need less fungicides, which is again then more sustainable for the environment as well. So from seeds, traits, seed care, crop protection, and recently also we've got a responsibility also to help develop the world in terms of biologicals, greener, more softer chemistry as well. So big investments that we've done, and the world is now also saying we need to make sure that that technology integrated with CP, with the seeds, offer farmers a sustainable solution.
And we've taken a journey with GMO, but now gene editing does something slightly different in the sense that it works with the genetics that are currently there. How do you go about editing? Literally, that it means that editing these genes, and how do you go about even knowing what genes to edit?
So it's amazing what our scientists can do for CRISPR technology. So a maize plant, 2.5 billion DNA strings, and we have the ability to really sort of, with precision, saying between 2 DNA strings, do we want to edit, remove a certain trait? So if a plant is more susceptible to disease, can we turn it off? And also in terms of drought tolerance, so it allows us within the plant species to then sort of play with the DNA of that plant species alone. And this is what makes it different to GMOs. There's no foreign integration into that technology. So it's amazing what could be done. And we've seen across the world already some of this being commercialized. Soyas with better oil content, tomatoes with more better nutrient to help blood pressure, bananas that could have a longer shelf life. Imagine cutting an apple and we just switch off the oxidation gene so it doesn't turn brown, and it's just less wastage. So the beauty of this technology is phenomenal, and even the pharmaceutical world is embracing it as well. So it's truly transformational in what this would do. Yeah.
And when you look at the continent, what are you finding yourself challenged to solve for?
Again, I think it's about first the regulatory space. I think we've learned also when GMOs came to the world, it was obvious for us as scientists this technology is needed by the world, but I think we've also learned we need to have the debates with consumers, with governments, with academia, so that we understand the concerns and making sure that when we set a regulatory framework, it's fact-based, it understands the science, so that we have a framework that would endorse this technology. It's encouraging to see many parts of Africa that out of choice opted not to go the GMO route, is saying but they're ready for the gene editing. Even in Europe, which has very much an environmental focus, is saying no for GMOs, and we respect them for that, but saying no, gene editing definitely would allow them to be competitive, would allow them also to have less dependency on some of the chemicals usage as well. So it's encouraging to see that as well. And then of course we need partnerships in terms of training, partnerships also in terms of collaborations. Corteva cannot do the research for all crops, for all countries, for all pests, for all different challenges. But I think we're open to collaborate with different universities, with summits of the world, etc., to really sort of bring this technology to transform agriculture.
Let's talk about what are some of the key developments that you've seen that really can revolutionize the space.
Yeah, so over the last 20 years, we've seen vast improvements in yields across various crops, and maize being one really important in the South African context. So if we take the first time that the average maize yield in South Africa reached 3 tons a hectare was 1980. It took 17 years to go from 3 tons to 4 tons. It took 9 years to go from 4 tons to 5 tons. And 7 years from 5 tons to 6 tons for the first time. So technology is really increasing, shaping the on-farm productivity. And as we look at technology's application going forward, it's really improving sustainability, yield stability on-farm, and really making our growers more sustainable and profitable, and also helping with food security in the region.
Now, when we look at technology, you have to aggregate so many points to have a look at the data and then look at how different elements or how different technology is impacting it. You know, has data become core to some of the developments, be it scientific developments, to shape what is needed to continue to increase yield?
Yes, absolutely. Data is core, and we at Corteva in South Africa, we plant 100 yield trial locations, more than 100 yield trial locations every year, collect more than 5 million data points. And we use technologies such as AI, predictive analytics, to help to analyze this data. We understand the genomes, the base pairs of each maize plant, of which we generate several thousands of new combinations every single year. We combine that with the environmental data that we have gathered and the performance of this genetics over the last 50 years that we've been operating in the country and on the continent. And putting this all together using AI and being able to understand how genetics performs in dry seasons, in wet seasons, and then ultimately what we want to deliver is a stable on-farm performance, regardless of the season, to really drive sustainability on farm and in the future for our farmers. So data is absolutely key, and it's key to the future. And we have a very good understanding of the genomes of the plants and how they work in changing environments over a long time.
Now there's complexity because you're looking at the genomes, you're looking at the varieties that you've created, you're looking at the environment, you're taking all of this data, you're aggregating it, utilizing AI, but still needs to be interpreted and corrected. Then you're looking at the farmer. Yeah. How are you having these conversations and simplifying technology for farmers?
And absolutely, that's a big part of what we do. And I think that's a big part of the continuing conversation to unlock this potential. And I think a key part of what we do is having our trials on farm with farmers, having the conversations with farmers, and then testing widely on farm on their conditions, bringing the local solutions to the farmers, to the needs that they have in those environments, And with them, as we go forward, thinking what does the future look like? And how do we build that together by using this technology?
And now there's a partnership perhaps that's so critical between you and the farmer, and there's also perhaps a responsibility, that's required on the farmer side, because once this technology gives birth to certain types of modified, if I could put it that way, or gene-altered crops, is the farmer having to take a responsibility long-term to protect what's been created from the technology application?
And I think as we look at different technologies, and I think part of it, if we look at the gene editing space, gene editing we see as a continuation of the breeding process. So that is breeding, selecting on farm, working with farmers to develop more tolerant and that's disease tolerant and abiotic stress tolerant varieties. Now, when we think of other technologies like GMO technologies, which introduces foreign genes in that provide perhaps insect resistance, for example, that is really where the stewardship components come in, where we need to work with the farmers to follow the stewardship guidelines to protect that technology over a long period. So we don't have breakdown of the technology against the target pests. So these two are very different technologies, but they do complement each other as we come to farmers with solutions.
And with the amount of tools that you have access to now, especially when it comes to machine learning and AI, does this help to make your process long-term affordable? Because we spoke a lot about it still needs to be affordable for every type of farmer. Is it improving affordability?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it does is by speeding up the gains that we make, we're really adding value quicker to the farmer, which brings the value and the affordability calculations in for the farmer. Now, at the end of the day, we can screen through simulations a lot more at an earlier stage without going to the field. So what that means is when we go to the field, we've selected the cream of the crop already, where we work with the farmers, and then really delivering the accelerated value, the accelerated gain to the farmers. And it is really important for our farmers to remain profitable and to see that value. And the quicker we can add the value, the more sustainable they will be.
From investments to gene editing, innovation and technology in the agri-sector remains crucial to ensure the consumer has access to fresh products.